Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Tony Wolf, and I'm here with Alexandra Janelli. Hello, Alexandra. Alexandra is a certified hypnotherapist in New York City, recently featured in Elle magazine and The New Yorker.
That's correct.
So for this video, I was asking Alexandra, Alexandra, are there any anecdotes or specific, unique circumstances or anecdotes you can tell us about things that you think the average person who doesn't know much about hypnosis, or even people who do, would find interesting or compelling? And you had a story which immediately made me say, I want to hear that story.
I actually, when I first started about 5 years ago, had worked with a girl who had a fear of fruits.
The girl who had a fear of fruit.
Now, at the time, I was a little skeptical about it, but I was like, you know what? Hypnosis is amazing.
Right.
And I'm going to take the case.
It can address all kinds of issues.
You know what? And I was still sort of practicing it. I said, I'm going to take the case, and I'm going to see what happens.
Okay. So what is the story of the
Now, what was interesting, because remember, when I'm talking with clients, the first thing I'm looking for is where are the linkages in the subconscious where this fear could have developed.
Right, where the association
Right.
is.
There is no traumatic incident that has happened for her in regards to fruit. So that was the first important thing to find out. Because usually, if a fear starts at a very particular time, or even a phobia, you usually look around that time to determine what happened.
Sure.
And you tend to work around that time. Now, another thing that's interesting to talk about is, and just differentiate the difference between a fear and a phobia.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I generally don't know what that is.
Yeah, a fear actually has a traumatic incident that has happened, something very pinpointable. A phobia usually is something that's not able to be tapped into a specific incident where it becomes irrational.
Phobia is almost generalized in that sense then, or in terms of the origin of it?
It's sort of like you don't know where it comes from. It's natural phobia. There hasn't been an incident where if you were bit by a dog again, that would be a fear. A fear-based
because it
fear.
has a precipitating event.
That's
that
correct.
is traumatic.
Right. Now, this girl, when we were speaking, really never had any incident happen where she just had a fear of fruit. And so when you begin to know there's not a specific incident, I started going, well, environmentally, where might this have associated from? And through talking, she all of a sudden came up with this epiphany of, my mother had told me all growing up that I had this issue with fruit. I guess her mother had taken her on a plane as a baby where she had horrible diarrhea. Now, a little cliche to talk about diarrhea on a video, but she did.
Had to go to the bathroom a lot on a plane when she was a baby.
And her mother then created the association that it must have been from fruit. And therefore, the mother, from that moment forward, never actually fed the baby fruit and had always told the daughter, fruit causes this to happen in you.
Fruit will do this to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Fruit will do this. Environmental conditioning. Associations get created. The fears of who wants to have diarrhea.
Right.
Very uncomfortable. And so she created this association. And when I began to work with her, the first thing I asked was, what's the most offensive fruit you can think about eating? Because I'm not going to push her there. When you're dealing with a fear or phobia, you don't want to go right and tap into the fear.
Right.
And so
or you don't want to go for the most intense thing. You
That's
sort
right.
of have to gently
That's
work
right.
your way in.
You almost assess the idea of fear altogether or a phobia, and then you actually begin to do mental rehearsing, circle therapies, reassociating. And so for her, the worst fruit was an orange. It was juicy, it was sticky, it got all over the place.
Okay. They are a little sticky, oranges.
They are. The least offensive was an apple. And so I said,
start with apples.
I said, would you be comfortable starting with an apple? And she said, sure.
Okay.
What was her motivation to do that? And we talk about that to really highlight how her life is going to be different. Being able to eat fruit, because she actually was going back to school for nutrition.
And did it take, wow.
Yep.
Did it take a lot of sessions for her to get sort of out of this?
If I remember correctly, we probably worked over a series of 3 sessions together.
Sure.
Just doing mental rehearsing. The idea first was for her just to not even eat the apple straight. It was just dip it in caramel.
Okay.
And
something appealing that she liked.
Something appealing. That would sort of cut the flavor or taste, or maybe even cut the fear or phobia from her
Did she
mind.
think she liked the taste of fruit, or was it just the notion of it in general?
I believe it was the notion, possibly even texture. When she came back the first time, she actually had gone ahead and eaten blueberries. And what had really always bothered her was the idea of people would go, oh my God, this is the best strawberry I've ever had. You should try it. And she'd be like, ew, no.
Oh, okay.
And so now she was able to have that gloating feeling. And remember, the subconscious gets motivated by feeling. She had that feeling in other areas of her life, so we would bring those up.
Okay.
That this
Did you say
can be
gloating
safe.
feeling? Meaning like the celebration of,
to be able
this
to
is a
gloat
delicious
bit about
strawberry.
it. Like, I ate that.
Right.
Which is empowering for her. Now, everyone will be different.
Sure.
Right?
And also, I would imagine to some degree, once someone like her intellectually realizes this is because of something my mother told me over and over, maybe that goes a bit of a ways towards helping deprogram that irrational fear as well.
Absolutely.
But there's still the subconscious pattern of,
right.
You might say this is silly, and like we've all had this, right? When we intellectually say, I know this is silly, why am I concerned about X, Y, or Z? Intellectually, I know I should be past it.
And
but then there's another level.
Right, and that's your conscious mind, which I call the excuse maker. It can rationalize anything, right? Like, I should go to the gym, but I'm so
Sure.
We cut through that and bring it deeper, right? The conscious mind gets quieted down in hypnosis to get right to the core.
Exactly. Well, there you have the girl who is afraid of fruit.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Tony and Alexandra, and we'll see you next time.